I am the Space Quest historian. You probably already know about SpaceVenture since I've banged on about it for quite some time, but if it somehow escaped your attention, in 2012, yes, 13 years ago, the creators of the Space Quest series, Mark Crow and Scott Murphy, did a Kickstarter for a brand new spiritual successor to Space Quest called SpaceVenture. It's not a direct sequel to Space Quest, it doesn't star our favorite bumbling space janitor Roger Wilco, but instead it's a brand new IP with a brand new main character called Ace Hartway, who's a space plumber with a cute robot dog for a sidekick named Rooter. It's been in development for the past 13 years, despite the Kickstarter promising it would be out within 9 months, which has prompted a fair amount of skepticism as to whether it would ever see a final release. Well, I'm happy to report that as of April 1st, 2025, the game has finally been released in early access on Steam, meaning you can now go and play it, the full game. Not a vertical slice, not a demo, the full game. Now, I've already covered the game in extensive detail. I did a video on the version that was released exclusively to Kickstarter backers 2 years ago, which goes into full details about the story and how the game plays, and fair warning, that video spoils just about every facet of the story, so watch it at your own peril. That version of the game was, unfortunately, a bit of a mess on the technical side. The whole game was there, but I think it's fair to say it was a bit too buggy for a primetime release, which was a point I spent quite a bit of time belaboring in that video. Since that early release and that video I put out, the team have been hard at work doing extensive Q&A with beta testers, and I'm happy, dare I say relieved, to say that the game is now a much more solid experience. It is still in early access though, and you might be wondering why a game that took 13 years to make would go up in early access and not just get a full release. Well, there are a couple of reasons for that. Obviously, despite several rounds of extensive poking and prodding by testers, there's bound to be 1 or 2 bugs still left in the game. In fact, when I did a celebratory livestream of the game on its release date, I came across one game-breaking bug that, of course, I immediately brought to the attention of the team, so I expect that will probably already have been fixed by the time you see this video, but stuff like that is bound to crop up. It happens with every game that's released.
Looking good so far.
And I know the team is dedicated to keep working on it and get it in the best shape possible down the line. Hell, most of the Sierra games that came out back in their heyday are still broken as fuck to this day, and that's not going to be the case for this game. More than that though, there's still some extra stuff the team wants to cram in there, mostly quality of life improvements and some extra content. I won't go into details about what those planned updates entail. Chris Pope, the game's unofficial producer, already gave an extensive interview with the adventure game Hotspot about the history of the development, why the game took so long to make, and what content they plan to add to the game while it is in early access, so go and check that out, link in the description of the video, yay hey. I will reiterate though, if you buy this game in early access right now, you are getting the full game. You can play it from start to finish. It's not a half-baked release like some would argue the Kickstarter release 2 years ago was, although that version also contained the full game, albeit in a somewhat unstable state. But this is, for all intents and purposes, the full version of the game, and any updates that come out from now will consist of either bug fixes or added content, much like any other game we could mention that periodically adds new content to the base game. So, is it any good? Well, I'm not really able to give you an unbiased opinion on that. Obviously, having been a rabid, obsessive Space Quest fan since my early childhood, my judgment is about as clouded as a slacker's dorm room at 4:20 in the afternoon. I love this game, no bones about that, but I would probably love anything the two guys from Andromeda put their stamp on, so you can't really trust my opinion on this. My advice to you is, obviously, go plonk down the Buckasoids and play the game for yourself and see how you like it. Now, I will say, and this may sound harsh, so my sincere apologies for this, I am not the Steam review section. I honestly don't care what anyone else thinks about the game. I'm just happy it exists. I'm happy it's finally out there for the world to play, and I'm happy that the two guys and the rest of the team finally made this huge milestone. Sure, they haven't technically crossed the finish line yet, but as far as I'm concerned, this proves that despite numerous setbacks and hardships, the team never gave up, they never threw in the towel, they kept on working and plucking away at the game even when everyone thought it was dead in the water. Something I knew for a fact wasn't the case all those 13 years. I knew this game was going to come out eventually, and I did my best to reiterate that fact every time someone asked me whatever happened to SpaceVenture, or otherwise referred to the game in the past tense, or asked if it was even still being worked on. But now, I don't have to reiterate that fact, because now you can clearly see that for yourself. And whether you like the finished game or not is up to you. You can leave a review on their Steam page. I know most YouTubers would be begging for their audience to leave a comment telling me if you enjoyed the game or not, because algorithms, they love engagement and all that shit. I'm saying, don't. I honestly just want to lean back and bask in the relief that the game is finally out and that everyone can now go play it for themselves and form their own opinions. So don't. I was never on the dev team anyway, despite what a lot of people seem to think. I was involved in the Kickstarter, yeah, I was drumming up support and organizing a spread the word campaign with fellow veterans of the Space Quest community, and yes, I may have had more insight into what was going on behind the scenes than anyone else because I'm friends with the people on the dev team, including the two guys themselves, but it's not like I was working in the trenches with the rest of the team. When someone asked me when the game was going to come out, I would always, very truthfully, reply that I hadn't the faintest idea. All I knew is that it would come out eventually, and now it finally has. And again, I'm sorry if this seems harsh or unkind, but I'm not going to sit here and defend the game in my comments or get into discussions about what you may or may not like about the game or how you think they run their Kickstarter, because I've been burnt time and time again. I've been fielding questions from bad faith actors and people with genuine concerns alike, and I am very, very much guilty of having been way too emotionally invested in this game over its many years in development. I'm guilty of having poked a hornet's nest when the smart thing to do would have been just to leave things alone and let the facts speak for themselves, and I'm sorry if that caused any undue stress for the team. I'm sorry for letting my passion get the better of me in the past, but I'm over that now. I still am incredibly emotionally attached to the game because I love the team, I love what they've put together, and I don't think there ever was a doubt in anyone's mind that I would. But yeah, all I'm trying to say here is this is me breathing a sigh of relief. Let me have this moment. The game is finally out for the world to see, and I'm not going to try to sway your opinion or proclaim that this is the greatest thing ever since sliced bread, because that's up to you to decide now. I'm obviously incredibly biased. I obviously love the game. I think it's the greatest thing ever, and that's that really. You make up your own mind. Go play it for yourself. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you can appreciate the immense sacrifices that the team had to make in order to see this thing through, and I really don't have much to say beyond that, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you around the Chrono Stream. Bye!